some good fishing. It is no longer Groundhog Day. It is a massive fish. It is a huge fish. KZN is definitely hottening up as the water cools down. Hello and welcome to another Angler News KZN fishing report. Guys, it has been a tough week in KZN. It has been trying because of the difficult sea conditions. However, those that did go out definitely reap the rewards because KZN has had rods bending throughout the entire coastline. And that's not just on the coastline, that's on your freshwater side as well. Now we're going to get into all of this in great detail in the show. However, before we do, special thanks to our new sponsor, the Kingfisher, for the show. Well, when I say new, they're not that new. Kingfisher has always been a sponsor of the Angler News brand. They've always been a great contributor to KZN Fishing, and this is another show they are glad to be part of. So, before we kick off the show, welcome aboard Kingfisher. Guys, look out for their products. Be sure to support them, as they are the ones that support us anglers as well, as they do in the show. And of course, our huge podcast show as well. So speaking of our podcast show, guys, this is just a highlight of what you can get from the full show. So be sure to check it out on your Spotify, your Google Pods, Apple Pods, whichever podcast channel you listen to your podcast on. Now let's get into this week's one, starting off down the South Coast as we usually do with all our shows. Adam has reported some good fishing. It is no longer Groundhog Day. Guys, there are fish down the lower South Coast, and not just off the rivers. The rivers are still producing the goods on you with your perch, your river snapper, that kind of species, but there is a lot more to report on. And those species are shad. Shad has come out, big shad. There's been some good reports of shad. There's been reports of shad coming out of Margate Pier. We haven't had a report of Margate Pier since last winter with the shad, and they are definitely on the bite. Apart from that shad, there has been reports of cob. There's reports of mussel cracker, brusher. In fact, that mussel cracker reported to be over 7 kilos. That is a massive fish for the lower South Coast. With that as well, there's reports of some inedible action. Not too many, but the inedible action has been a few hounds as well as a few hammerheads that's been reported. So the lower South Coast is looking pretty good. The reports are looking quite good. If you want that full detailed report, be sure to listen to it on the podcast version of the KZN report. Apart from the lower South Coast, moving on to Mzumbi and Stabel, there's been reports of cob action. So, the shadow on the bite. Apart from the big ones, there's a few smaller ones in between. So definitely worth sliding that out. And we know the Garrick is going to be on the bite very soon. Now, moving on to Amkumas. Guys, this has to be spoken about. I didn't put the image on here because I personally believe that fish should have been released. However, in saying that, although I would have released the fish, the angler did bring in the fish, and I would love to get your opinions on this. So comment below as to how you feel about the catch. It has been circulating the WhatsApp groups. It's been trending around. It is a massive fish. It is a huge fish. Guys, I personally, my views on catch and release, it's something I'm proud of and do all the time. I mean, yes, there are those odd occasions where you would bring back a fish for the family or the pan or whatever it may be. And don't get me wrong, I do totally understand the guy who wants a trophy fish, a guy that has been putting in the effort over all the years and spent a ton of money to go and get that fish. And yes, if he's going to mount it or, make a big meal and feed the family, I totally understand all of that. This is just my personal opinion that I would, do my photos on the beach, release the fish, and go and frame my trophy fish. We'll frame it as in the photo of framing it, not mounting it and sticking it up on my wall. But there are the others, and I did make a few calls before I did the show to get a few opinions from a few other guys as to what they would have done with this species, with this beautiful fish. And look, half of them say they would have kept it. The other half say they would have released it. I'd love to hear what you feel about it. So that is my opinion on the catch. That was a huge, massive catch, and you know what? Kudos to the angler that did get that fish. It is a beautiful specimen. Like I said, I would have put it back. Now moving on into Warner Beach, guys. Great activity at Warner Beach as well. Massive share coming out. We got reports of a few of them being over 4 kilos. The stump is on the bite. The pompano is on the bite. There has been another garrick that's been landed over this past week. Apart from that, on your offshore side, Kuta coming out on a daily basis. So that is something definitely to keep an eye out for, especially if you want some of that action. And there's bait in the area. So Warner Beach is certainly an area that's producing the goods. Moving on into Durban, edible action of note. Guys, it is definitely edible action in Durban, Shad on the bite, Pompano, Bronze Bream. As for the offshore side, not too many anglers has been out to launch over this past week. However, those that did were reaping the rewards on the bottom fishing. There has been the odd cooter that's been on the bite. Not too many reports of snook. Once again, the bigger seas.
Right, good morning, guys. We're here on Linsky Fishing Charters, being Thursday morning. Guys, see lovely flat, 24.3 degrees. Yeah, it's been a bit of a slow day with some bottom fish, but some nice bottoms as they've been. Quite a few soldiers, one or two rockhards, and some slingers in between. Sea is really beautiful out here, nice and blue and clean. Yeah, so yeah, enjoy the show.
And apart from that, the harbor action. Lots of grounds are still on the bite, and that kingfish being caught on artificial lures. So Durban Harbor and well, the rest of Durban has been definitely producing some good species that has come out over this past week. Now moving on into the north coast, guys. Once again, it's shared on the bite, but nice quality shad, some proper buses averaging 3 kilos. And amongst that shad, while the guys are fishing for their shad, they've been getting a few cob and grays on that shad tray. So yeah, Bolito definitely producing the goods. There's bronze bream on the bites, a lot of the scratching species that we've got reports of. So yeah, inedible action that has slowed down, which is kind of expected due to the cooler waters. There's still some cooter on your offshore scene. So yeah, I mean, those that did go out did reap the rewards on those species. But you know, Shaka's High Rock definitely producing the goods, and the Garrick is set. It's still early days for that area to see that Garrick, but the guys are trying. Now, Mtunzini. Once again, difficult seas, not too much to report on. The guys hasn't been out the entire week. However, when I chatted with Nick this morning, they have started to launch some boats from today. So we should get some reports over the next couple of days as to what you can expect from those areas. Richards Bay, once again, also not fireworks. Guys didn't launch the entire week. Richards Bay, the harbor has been the only place that has had seen some activity, and that activity being your kingfish and GTs on artificial lure. As for St. Lucia, well, there has been some fish recorded. We got reports right up till Tuesday where charters has been going out and bringing back fish, being your Dorado, your Kuta, bunnies in between, a few juvenile kingfish with that. So St. Lucia still producing the goods. Now, guys, that is our saltwater report for this week. Now, moving on to the freshwater. Guys, I can't tell you, Jan has definitely had a great report. So, once again, I know I keep on saying this, go and listen to the full podcast. It has the great detail of everything that's been going on your freshwater scene. So, for now, what we can tell you in our highlights package is that the bass has slowed down a bit, but the bass that did come out were good quality bass. There has been reports of trout fishing. The colder weather has made it slow down a little bit. However, in slowing down, there still were some quality fish that has been coming out. So, like I said, slim pickings from the NFFC, but Moy River definitely produced some good browns. There's been some good scaly action. So, guys, that's our KZN report for this week. Make sure to let me know what you think about that kingfish that been trending on the social media scenes over this past week. So, let me know in the comments below. And while you're over there, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to not miss out on any further shows that are coming out. Because, guys, KZN is definitely hottening up as the water cools down, especially especially on that edible action. So yeah, until next week, for Angler News South Africa, I am Vanessa Grimm. Always remember, keep your fishing area tidy, respect your bag limits, and fish for the future.